Ukraine's new president says he doesn't want war or revenge. He just wants to end the fighting and bring his unity to his country. During his swearing-in ceremony, Petro Poroshenko laid out a peace plan that includes political concessions to the areas roiled by separatist conflict. He also talked of his recent discussion with Russian President Putin. Well, the two had met the day before at the D-Day commemoration in France. Poroshenko told Putin that despite Russia's annexation of Crimea, it will always be Ukrainian. That's in quotes. The leaders agreed to begin talks to resolve the uprising in East Ukraine. Well, the 70th anniversary of the historic landing at Normandy served as a reminder that Russia was once an important ally in World War II. Despite recent harsh words, President Putin and Obama apparently had a polite, if brief, exchange. But Putin was persona non grata as the G7 economic powers got together. The Group of Seven used to be the Group of Eight, but Russia was disinvited after annexing Crimea. Leaders emerged from the meeting threatening to tighten sanctions against Russia if it does not help bring peace to Ukraine. Well, we're joined again by business consultant Vasyl Myroshnychenko in Kiev. Welcome, Vasyl. And I've got to ask, what's the reaction to Poroshenko's inauguration speech?
Oh, inauguration speech of Petro Poroshenko yesterday was a historic moment. Many commentators have noted that it was probably one of the best inauguration speeches of the Ukrainian presidents ever. And everybody is very enthused, everybody is optimistic. There are really very high expectations among the Ukrainian people because people want to finally see something happen. People want to see finally for the new president to curb corruption and secure the rule of law and actually do the reforms which are so much long overdue here. So I should tell you, I mean, the number of dignitaries who attended the ceremony yesterday was impressive. We had many prime ministers, we had many presidents of the neighboring countries, of the friendly countries. We had Joe Biden, Vice President of the United States. We had Prime Minister of Canada, Mr. Harper here. We had many other guests who came over, and this is the best turnout I've ever seen in terms of the international visitors.
Well, you know, Vasyl, of course, you know, the world knows that Ukraine is facing a mountain of economic woes, bankruptcy being one of them, resources, gas, so on and so forth. But the overriding concern by many people around the world is the level of violence that has taken place. I want to ask you to set the stage for us as to what's going on there now. Have we seen Russian troops really remove themselves from the border? Has there been a lessening of violence over in the Ukraine and in the eastern part of that country?
Right. I mean, the violence is still there. It has subsided. Ukrainian government has really cracked down on the terrorists in the east. It's actually going down, and it looks like Russia has finally caved in and is de-escalating the conflict. And right now, I should say that the threat of the direct invasion of Russia is is almost equal to zero. This possibility is not there. So that's already a good sign. And the fact that there was a conversation, though it was a brief and cold conversation between President Poroshenko and President Putin in Normandy, is a significant step forward. I'm sure it was not a very pleasant conversation, but at least they've agreed to start talking. And this is a milestone in this standoff.
Vasyl, I want to ask, in terms of what will work there, you're saying you're seeing a lessening of violence in the eastern part of Ukraine. But what is it going to take? Is it going to take a military crackdown by force, or will it take firm dialogue and diplomacy to make sure that violence and unity once returns to Ukraine?
Well, I mean, it depends on who you should talk to. I mean, there is no point of talking to the terrorists in the east. I mean, definitely there should be some sort of diplomacy between Ukraine and Russia, and that's for sure. But for the time being, we see many Russian citizens who are, who have weapons and who have supplied weapons to the Ukrainian separatists. And frankly, I don't see a point of negotiating with those people. So I really believe they all have to be eliminated. Yes, we do have to talk to Russia. However, there is no point of talking to those actually, separatists and terrorists there.
Vasyl, I want to thank you so much for your insight, as always. With us joining us here in the studio is Steve Acunto. He's a trustee of the European School of Economics to talk about the G7 meeting. A big meeting here. Of course, Putin wasn't involved with this meeting. Poroshenko has said himself that he wants more involvement from the G7. What can the G7 do to bring about change in Ukraine?
Well, the first thing that they did was make it the G8 minus 1, which is the G7 formula. I have to tell you, during the meetings, you noticed that Hollande, Prime Minister Hollande of France, had discourse with both leaders. And Obama had a private discourse with each, the Ukrainian and the Russian and Putin.
Right, Hollande had a separate meeting between Putin and Obama at the same time.
Yes. So there was some informal mediation going on, but the sanction process, which the Europeans have little appetite for, which will have to be pushed by the United States, in my opinion, if there is to be some pressure on Russia.
Okay.
That's the answer to your question.
All right. Well, the pressure, we're talking about maybe economic sanctions, but you know, Angela Merkel said, of course, the leader of Germany said it would have to be like firmly on dialogue. What does that mean?
Well, I think that what that means is not that there would not be a kind of a bumper car. So it would have to be on a channel, and there would have to be a direct discourse outcome potential to all these actions. I think what you run the risk of in an instance like that is you have several actors moving down in a course, but in reality what she's looking for is having a course set and then a set of actions that would get them to the end of it, you see.
Okay, in terms of what specifically they can do, I mean, the G7, I would assume, Steve, in your opinion, would figure really strongly in any kind of things that will happen in terms of positive change in Ukraine. Well,
the problem is that they're fighting against a Russia where Putin's popularity is incredibly high. A survey done this week in Moscow demonstrated that the Russian people believe that their greatest enemies are the United States, Lithuania, and the Ukraine. And their greatest friends are Kazakhstan, China, interestingly.
To say the least.
And the third was Belarus, strangely enough. So you can't change public opinion in Russia, but outside you can exert pressure. I don't know if it'll work.
All right. I wish we had more time. Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Wipe your forehead there,
Good to see you. Thanks.
Okay.